Hello, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Janelle and I love making college, grad school tips, teaching, just lifestyle vlogs. So if you're interested in that, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. So if you clicked on this video, you're probably interested or maybe curious of what the edTPA is. So the edTPA is the Education Teacher Performance Assessment. A lot of states, a lot of programs require that you pass the edTPA in order to get your teaching license. And yeah, if you're one of those states that are not doing the edTPA, then you're lucky. You probably have to do some teaching portfolio or something, but the edTPA is definitely stressful. Similar as calTPA. I don't know exactly what the difference is between edTPA and calTPA. If you do, leave a comment below. I live in Oregon and it was required that we have to pass the edTPA in order to get our teaching license. And for Oregon, different subject has like a requirement score to pass. If you're doing elementary literacy with mathematics, then the passing score in Oregon for elementary is 42, a score of 42. You have to pass, you have to have 42 or higher to pass that here in Oregon. I got 56, that was my score. And I definitely worked hard on it, and not gonna lie, I cried a bunch of times. But anyways, in this video I am gonna talk about how I organized my edTPA, and I'm gonna talk about the tips on the edTPA. So hopefully you find these useful, or find this video useful, the tips useful, or organization useful, just anything that will help you pass the edTPA, because I know how stressful it is even during this pandemic. If you still have to do the edTPA, I feel you. This is my edTPA binder, but don't worry, I am gonna show you what it looks like inside my edTPA binder. But first, I am gonna talk about like how I organize my edTPA binder. First thing I did, I actually did this during the summer. Really look at the Understanding Rubric. Print out the Understanding Rubric, and I will show you what the cover looks like, either on this side or this side, but definitely print out or download the Understanding Rubric for edTPA, because that helped me a lot. In the summertime, I actually organized my rubrics. I looked at the Understanding Rubric and I only took the score of 4 and 5. I didn't look at like 1, 2, 3 scores. I only focused on this 4 and 5 category. And I made a checklist, or basically summarizing the whole rubric of what I need to do for each task. In the next clip, I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. It'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, so this is what I did. I copied the planning rubric 1, and then I went to a Google Doc and pasted it. And then I went back to the Understanding Rubric and copied the essential question from each rubric, and then again went back to the Google Doc, pasted it for each rubric, and then I went back to the Understanding Rubric and copied the primary sources of evidence. So this is where the scorer will see or want to see to grade your rubric. For rubric 1, they're going to look at context for learning, prompt 1, and your lesson plans and your materials. Then I scrolled all the way down to just look at the level 4s and 5s, and I copied that for each rubric and then pasted it on the same Google Doc. I did this for each rubric and only copying the 4s and 5s. The second thing to do is to print out your edTPA handbook specifically for your subject, grade level, and literally read and highlight. Like literally look at each page, read, highlight the important things. And yeah, it's a lot, so that's why I did it in the summertime, because I knew when fall semester started, or whatever semester that you're gonna do your edTPA, I knew I was gonna be busy with student teaching full-time, edTPA, and other homework or research projects or thesis, whatever that you're working on in your program. And I'm so glad I did this during the summertime, because it helped me keep myself on track and know what I need to be doing. And then the other one is print out the making good choices for edTPA. There's questions and answers in there, lots of specific questions. In the making good choices, you're gonna look at the key points and look at what to include and what to avoid. And then another organizing tip is definitely have a binder specifically for only edTPA. Another organization tip is to use Post-it notes. I will definitely have a clip on how I organize it and show you better, but I have Post-it notes on the side specifically for each task. So I have task 1, task 2, task 3, and task 4. For elementary, there's task 4, but usually there's only 3 tasks, but if you're in elementary, there's 4 tasks. And then I have a sticky note for the glossary, because you're gonna need that glossary. You're like, because there's specific words in there that you're like, what does this mean? Definitely have sticky notes to help you organize the categories in your binder. In the next clip, I'm gonna show you everything inside my edTPA to make more sense. All right, so here's my edTPA binder. I'm gonna show you the inside. Right, so the first thing you see is the planning checklist of each rubric. This helped me. I created this checklist in the summertime to really help me what I need to do for each rubric. So for rubric 1, for example, these are the checklists that I need to make sure that I have in my rubric 1. And over here it says primary sources of evidence. The scorer, the person who's going to score your edTPA, they're going to look at your context for learning and your lesson plans and your instructional materials for this specific rubric. So I have to make sure that I did all of this, or at least most of this. I made sure I aim really high. That way, even if I score a 3, that's still pretty good. I made sure I only added descriptions or checklists that would get me 4 or 5 scores, but even 3 is fine. If you're doing the edTPA, this will make more sense. Okay, the next part is virtual learning alternatives. When I was student teaching, everything was virtual, but we did comprehensive distance learning. So these are the alternative evidence that we can submit for edTPA. And you can definitely grab these at the edTPA website. So I like to print it out. So for task 2, for a video part, I liked how it says you can use the whiteboard or any visuals, whatever, or the chat as evidence, acceptable alternative evidence. Then the next one is, this is the handbook. I did the elementary education literacy with mathematics. This is from the Understanding Rubric handbook. Okay, Understanding Rubric handbook. And it tells you like the essential literacy and the related skill. So this side is the essential literacy. This side is a related skill. So it just gives you ideas of what you want to teach for your edTPA lessons. And then the next one is making good choices. Make sure you print that out because there's definitely specific questions. I like how it says, how do I start with my edTPA planning? There's specifics in there that tells you exactly what to do. And I also like how this making good choices, it gives a note here to make sure what not to do as well. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. The planning task key point, what to include and what to avoid. Okay, and then I have these sticky notes to help me organize my rubrics and my tasks. So for this one, task 1, rubrics number 1 to 5, task 2, rubrics 6 to 10. I had this one helped me a lot. So what to submit for each task. So I went over here, this is from your handbook, by the way. So for task 1, these are the things that we need to submit, making sure that I have everything and not miss anything. And then I have the glossary because there are certain words in the edTPA that I didn't understand, like language demand, language functions. I had no idea what those meant. So make sure you have a post-it note for glossary as well because you're gonna need them. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about the tips on how I did during my edTPA. So the first thing is obvious, and you probably hear this all the time, is to start early. Start your edTPA early, like literally maybe your first day of student teaching or even the summertime. Look at the handbook. Look at the edTPA handbook, look at the Understanding Rubric handbook, look at everything. Because if you wait last minute, oh man, that's gonna be your fault. and you're gonna be stressed out and you're gonna rush through it, and yeah, you don't want to rush the edTPA. So yeah, start early. A second tip is to give yourself deadlines for specific tasks. We had an edTPA class, so our edTPA coordinator gave us specific deadlines on when to submit things. But if that doesn't work out for you, if you're not going to submit the edTPA in a specific deadline that your program wants you to submit it in, then give yourself specific deadlines for each task. So for me, I would be like, okay, I want to get my task 1 done in 2 weeks, and I want to get my task 2 done by the end of this month. I want to get task 3 done. I don't know. Make yourself a deadline. That way you'll have time to edit each task, edit the commentaries, edit what you need to do in your writing, and making sure that you have everything, all your artifacts, everything for your edTPA. A third tip is have someone read your edTPA commentaries. I had my husband read my edTPA to make sure everything is cohesive and makes sense, because when you submit your edTPA, a stranger, someone else is going to read your edTPA, and if it doesn't make sense and if it doesn't tie in with all your other tasks, that's going to be confusing. So I had my husband read my edTPA commentaries just to make sure it all makes sense and that they flow together. So the other tip is to read each rubric for each task. Each task has like 5 rubrics in it. For elementary, it's a total of 18 rubrics. For those who only have 3 tasks, it's a total of 15 rubrics. So there's like 5 rubrics in each task. Another tip is to work on your edTPA a little at a time every day. That's how I did it. For me, I like to start early. I like to work on things a little bit at a time. You can also have a specific day just for the edTPA. I know some people like only on Mondays and Wednesdays I'll do the edTPA, or on the weekends, on Saturday, that's the day to do the edTPA. Whatever your schedule is or how you like to organize everything, but definitely work on your edTPA a little bit at a time. Another tip is to have duplicates of everything. Have your edTPA commentaries, lesson plans, videos or audios in your desktop, in your Google Drive, in a hard drive, especially when it comes to your videos or audios. Definitely have duplicates of everything just in case something happens. Thank goodness nothing happened when I was doing my edTPA, but I know that some people had problems, so make sure you duplicate everything. I looked at different edTPA portfolios, like examples. Obviously you don't copy it, don't copy their edTPA, but use their examples as a guide to help you. And I'm grateful that our edTPA coordinator, he gave out examples for elementary, for science, social studies, math. He gave examples of past students in the program who submitted their edTPA with high scores. So I looked at least 2 or 3 edTPA examples, edTPA portfolios, just to help me, like a guide to make sure that I'm doing things right and I'm answering the questions right. And obviously don't copy. Another tip is to really look at the questions for each rubric, for each question, whatever in the commentary. When it says "and," you better answer the second part of that question. So make sure you read the questions and actually answer the questions. And then lastly, I had my edTPA coordinator look at all my artifacts for my edTPA. Again, they're not allowed to edit your edTPA, but my edTPA coordinator, he was able to provide us feedback like, hey, you didn't answer this specific question, make sure you answer this question or you're gonna get points off. If you have an edTPA coordinator that's able to do that, definitely use him or her or whoever to help you out with your edTPA. So yeah, that's about it. Those are my tips and how I organize my edTPA. The next video is probably gonna be about like specifics of each rubric and how to score high in specific rubrics. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video.